Ever wonder who really built the world around you? Not just the famous architects or the big corporations, but the hands that laid the bricks, the fingers that picked the coffee beans for your morning cup, the caregivers who look after our children and elderly. There's a massive, hidden workforce that powers our global economy, and yet, they remain largely invisible. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the informal economy, a world of 2 billion people, that's over 60% of the world's employed population, who work without the basic protections most of us take for granted. Let's start with a journey. Picture a vast, sun-drenched field. Here, millions of agricultural workers toil from dawn till dusk. They are the first link in the long chain that brings food to our tables. Their hands plant the seeds, nurture the crops, and harvest the produce we buy in our local supermarkets. Yet, many of them don't have formal contracts. They work season to season, often for cash, with no guarantee of work tomorrow, let alone a pension for their future. Their contribution is immense, but their recognition is minimal. Now, let's shift our focus to the booming cityscapes that define modern life. Look closer at the construction sites. High-rise buildings, sprawling malls, intricate road networks. These are built by armies of construction workers. A significant portion of these workers are part of the informal sector. They might be migrants who've traveled far from their homes in search of a livelihood, working day in and day out under hazardous conditions. They often lack proper safety gear, training, and, crucially, insurance. An accident on the job doesn't just mean physical injury. It can mean financial ruin for their entire family, with no safety net to catch them. And then there's a sector that's perhaps the most hidden of all, because it happens right inside our homes. We're talking about domestic work. Nannies, cleaners, gardeners, and caregivers. Millions of people, overwhelmingly women, work in private households. They enable others to go out and participate in the formal economy. They raise our children, clean our living spaces, and care for our loved ones. Despite their intimate and essential role, they are frequently excluded from national labor laws. They work long hours, often isolated, and are vulnerable to exploitation, all happening behind closed doors. So, what are the core issues these workers face? A central problem is what we call legal invisibility. Because they lack formal contracts and are not registered, they don't officially exist in the eyes of the labor law. This means no minimum wage protections, no set limits on working hours, and no entitlement to sick leave or paid holidays. They are ghosts in the system, contributing immense value but receiving little to no legal standing in return. This invisibility leads directly to another pervasive issue: wage theft. Imagine working for a week, a month, or even longer, only for your employer to refuse to pay you the agreed-upon amount, or anything at all. For a formal worker, there are legal channels to fight this injustice. For an informal worker, the options are terrifyingly limited. The power imbalance is huge. Reporting the employer could mean losing your job, or for migrant workers, it could even risk deportation. So, millions are forced to accept being underpaid or not paid at all, just to survive. Furthermore, a cornerstone of workers' rights is the ability to organize and bargain collectively. Unions have historically been the vehicle for workers to demand better pay, safer conditions, and more humane treatment. But for informal workers, forming or joining a union is a monumental challenge. Their work is often transient, scattered, and unregulated, making it difficult to organize. Without a collective voice, each worker is left to negotiate on their own, a single, quiet voice against a much louder, more powerful system. They are denied the strength that comes from unity. The consequences of this system are not just economic, they are deeply human. Let's talk about the human cost. For these workers and their families, life is often a relentless cycle of poverty. The low, unpredictable wages make it impossible to save money, invest in their children's education, or plan for the future. They are trapped in a state of perpetual financial insecurity, where one small emergency, a medical bill, a failed crop can become a catastrophic crisis. This isn't just about not having enough money, it's about the complete absence of a financial buffer, living on a knife's edge every single day. Beyond the financial strain, there's a profound emotional and psychological toll. Think about the constant anxiety of not knowing where your next paycheck will come from, the feeling of being undervalued, of your hard work going unrecognized, the fear of speaking up against mistreatment. This chronic stress affects their mental and physical health. It erodes their sense of dignity and self-worth. It's a heavy burden to carry, and it's a burden that is passed down through generations, making social mobility feel like an impossible dream. The dream of a better life for their children, which motivates so many, becomes a source of constant heartache. But this situation is not hopeless. Change is possible, and it's already happening on multiple fronts. The first and most critical area is government reform. Governments around the world are beginning to recognize the importance of the informal economy. Some are extending labor laws to include sectors like domestic work and agriculture. They're simplifying registration processes, so small businesses and self-employed individuals can formalize their status more easily. This is about creating legal pathways that bring workers out of the shadows and into the light of protection, ensuring they have the same fundamental rights as everyone else. At the grassroots level, community organizations and worker collectives are making a huge difference. These groups provide a platform for informal workers to connect, share their experiences, and organize. They offer legal aid to fight cases of wage theft. They run workshops on financial literacy, and they advocate for policy changes at the local and national levels. In places like street markets, vendor associations have successfully negotiated with city officials for designated selling spaces and fair licensing fees. These organizations build power from the ground up, proving that solidarity can create tangible change. Technology is also emerging as a powerful ally. Mobile banking apps are allowing workers to receive digital payments, creating a formal record of their income and reducing the risk of wage theft. Digital platforms are connecting freelance and gig workers with jobs, providing them with more transparent information about pay rates and employer reviews. There are even apps being developed that help domestic workers calculate fair wages, track their hours, and access emergency support networks. Technology isn't a silver bullet, but it can provide tools that empower workers and increase transparency in sectors that have long been opaque. The path forward requires a multifaceted approach. We need continued pressure on governments to enact and enforce inclusive labor laws. We need to support the incredible work of grassroots organizations that are on the front lines, fighting for workers' rights every day. And as consumers, we need to be more conscious of the labor behind the products and services we enjoy. Asking questions about supply chains and supporting businesses with ethical labor practices can make a real difference. The goal is not to eliminate the informal economy in many parts of the world. It's a vital source of livelihood. The goal is to transform it, to ensure that every worker, regardless of their employment status, is treated with dignity and respect. To build a global economy that is not only prosperous, but also just and inclusive. Imagine a world where the woman who cleans your office has a secure contract and paid sick leave. A world where the man who built your home has access to safety equipment and insurance. A world where the farmer who grew your food earns a fair price for their labor and can send their children to school. This world is within our reach. It's a world where the 2 billion hidden workers are finally seen. Their contributions are finally valued, and their fundamental rights are finally recognized. Their fight for justice is a fight for the soul of our global economy. It's a fight for a future where work, in all its forms, is a source of dignity, not desperation. Thank you for joining me on this journey today. If this story moved you, please share it to raise awareness.